Yes, chronic fatigue is something I deal with quite often. And in chronic fatigue, it's a little bit difficult because of the defensive nature of a person with chronic fatigue. And especially if that chronic fatigue is relative to Epstein-Barre virus. In those cases, they're very defensive. We find a pattern, we find a backward pattern when that person stands. And if it's a female in chronic fatigue, we find their spine is deviating left. And so what that means is that person over pushes. And so before they ran into the chronic fatigue, they were overly driven. They were pushing themselves so hard. They relied on their mental strength to get them through it. And what we need to help people to understand is in chronic fatigue, we need to teach people to save energy in everything they do. So the question that the chronic fatigue sufferer should ask is, how can I save energy in what I'm doing? And we should help them to find ways to save energy, because when we balance energy, there is going to be less chronic fatigue. And so that's a pattern, a backward left curve. We find that when the spine is right, goes from a left curve to a right curve in a female, it's much more significant immune compromise fatigue. And in a right curve deviation, you would want to look to see if there's height loss, because oftentimes there's going to be spinal cord compression. And so there are so many ways that we can look at that pattern and understand that there is a pattern to it. And once we identify that pattern, we can really help the person who is suffering with fatigue issues.